Just do the upgrade and the renovations and stop playing football there, but instead we're doing it in 3 phases, and we are playing football between the phases, so makes it extremely challenging. So just a little background, our DP is a joint firm of Gould Evans and HNTB. The general contractor is a partnership of Hunt and Sunt, and just a real quick snapshot of what we're spending our money on. The 256 is roughly broken down. You can see the pie chart on the right. So a lot of infrastructure, a lot of structural, a lot of concrete, not too much on the interior and the finish work. So a lot of what we're doing, you might say, is somewhat invisible to the layperson. To me, I think it's clearly the most important. But there's a lot of stakeholders, as I'm sure a lot of the folks know. There's the facilities guys, and there's the university, and then there's the athletics folks, and where we want to spend that money. So just roughly the scope. So this building, stadium was built in 1958, so there's quite a bit of structural deterioration. One of the things that we've learned along the way is the concrete was not really sealed watertight, and so one of the operational SOPs is they just hose down the seating in the stadium after a football game, and over time that water has seeped in, and there is deterioration on the concrete and the structural steel. Not to mention there's quite a few ADA code violations, so a big chunk of the scope of this project is correcting those items. The other thing that we sort of realized along the way, and I'll talk to you a little bit about what I call the batting order. It should be programming, design, construction. Sounds so simple, but we can't seem to get that right. But along the way of this journey, we've actually merged 2 projects. So there's the stadium renovation, now there's the student-athletic facility, which is now one project. And we've sort of come to the decision that rather than just using the stadium for 7 home games per year, it's going to be part of this new 365 stadium. So certainly the intent now is that the stadium will be used for more than just football. So there'll be possibly other sporting events, non-sporting events, commencement exercises. There's a lot of club space, so possibly weddings, things of that nature. So, but when you make decisions like that, then that sort of turns into a domino effect. So if you're going to have more events, then you need more security systems, you need more cameras, you need more card readers, which means you need more data, which means you need more equipment rooms and more AC, et cetera. So it just keeps on going. Another big part of the scope of this project is enhancing the fan experience. And so one of the things we realized fairly early on when we got together with some of these student groups is Wi-Fi is just absolutely vital to this generation. I guess this is the millennial generation. And so you just can't have enough Wi-Fi. So our WAPs are, I think in the student section, now we have this double inferno zone, the south end zone and the north end zone. I want to say is 1 per 50, and on the sidelines is 1 per 100. So they're just WAPs everywhere to improve the Wi-Fi. Seating's improved. The run to rise ratio before was much steeper. Your knees were sort of up against your chest. Improved cell phone coverage, wayfinding. A big increase in restrooms and concessions. So this was one of the big challenges. By show of hands, how many folks have been to Sun Devil Stadium? Oh, wow, quite a few. So you may know from your experience there that the restroom lines were long, not a lot of concessions. So really, in general, improving the fan experience. You'll see much better ventilation, much more open stadium. Actually, fewer seats, but better seats. At one point, I want to say the peak of seats in that stadium was 72,000. Then it got down to about 59,000 at the beginning of this project. When we're done, it'll be about 56,000. So fewer seats, but better seats. And you'll see this contiguous concourse that'll be when we're done. So here's just sort of a snapshot of the schedule. This is the moving tire, changing the cars. So just to walk you through this, pretty self-explanatory, but played football in 2014. As soon as we were done playing football, started phase 1. This is the south end zone. And we had to be done, obviously, in time to play football in 2015. So August 1st, done with the field, gave the field back to athletic ops, and with the stadium per se by 15 August in time to play football. So everything was buttoned up, returned to normal. We played football. November 21st was the last football game, no bowl game in 2015. November 22nd, mobilized. This is where we're at right now. We're in the middle of phase 2. We will go hard, and when I say hard, I mean hard. 6 days a week, 22 hours a day. 7th day, we take it easy. It's only 12 hours. So we work about 140 hours a week. Just absolute pedal to the metal. So August 1st, hard date, give the field back to athletic ops. 15 August, we're out and turnover and training takes place. Then we play football. Now, while we're playing football, a little bit of anomaly this time. So we are going to do some of the fit out in the shelled spaces, so the student-athlete facility and the club spaces. We will still be working inside, behind the curtain, if you will, while football is going on. Then as soon as football is done, once again, no bowl game in the stadium. We will hit it hard, phase 3, and we will be done by August of 17. Extremely tight schedule. So looking at it graphically, this is kind of what we're talking about. You can see phase 1 here. This is already said and done. This was the south end zone. This is what we're in the middle of right now. This is phase 2. So this is the west sideline and the north end zone and the shell of the SAF, the student-athlete facility. And then once we're done with football, then we'll hit it again. And phase 3 is the remainder of the project. So just a little history. Like I said, the stadium was built in 1958. So this is a picture of the stadium circa 1958, and it's probably worth pointing out, there really was no lower bowl, upper bowl. There was no sections here in the corner between the end zones and the sidelines. This is what the stadium looked like right when we started phase 1. So this was prior to ripping out the south end zone. It's probably worth pointing out, you can see in the upper bowl, these sections here where it's sort of wrapped around. And there's the south end zone there. You're going to see another shot here looking the other way. So this is from the south looking north. And once again, it's probably worth pointing out, you can see these sections here. Just remember that because they're going to go away. These upper bowl sections. So this was as is when we started the project. So phase 1, what we call the inferno. So the south end zone is one side of the double inferno. When we finish the north end zone, that will be thus the double inferno. So student sections on either side. Doesn't matter which way you're going, you're going to get students in your ear. So this was the south end zone when we started. These old steel bleachers. Then boom, it was like a bomb went off. We protected the field there. We put a geofabric down, and we put about 18 inches of earth over that, and just literally took it down to the bones. Put back, this was precast that we put back in. And all the infrastructure, all new concessions, all new restrooms, new elevators, the whole 9 yards. You can see we only took up part of the field there. So we used that south from like the 20 back as the laydown area. And lo and behold, they pulled the miracle out. It was right up to the the 11th hour, but by the time we finished phase 1, everything was good to go. Played football. So now the fun begins. Now we're into phase 2, which is roughly 4 times the volume of phase 1. So boom, it looks like a war zone. So just a reminder, so we're doing the west side and the north side in phase 2, and just taking it right down to the earth. And so I got a couple shots, and so it's hard to believe, we're going to be playing football in August. And if we're not, then I'll be looking for a job. But so far, that's the story, and I'm sticking to it. So just a couple shots of, these are fairly current. Actually, they're probably a month old now, but you can see the entire southwest corner has just been ripped out. once again, now we're using the entire field, but what we did was the same thing we did in phase one. We put that geofabric down, put 18 inches of earth to protect it, and so the intent is when we're done, we're going to peel that back. We'll put some sod down, and hopefully it looks as good as it did after phase one. But you can see what is left of the north end zone, basically just the skeleton. And things just keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and I'm hopeful that they're going to start getting bigger here soon. So aerial shot looking straight down, massive construction. So like I said, we're going 6 days a week, 22 hours a day, the 7th day, 12 hours a day, 2 crews. The day crew is about 200 or so. The night crew is about 70. So it's just non-stop construction, basically. So here's a shot, current concourse conditions. So you can see pretty dungeon-looking, dark, no view of the fields. The wayfinding is pretty lame, fairly weak signage. So remember that. And just a real quick profile of what we're doing on the sidelines. We're basically peeling back the upper concourse and the club level and improving the sight lines, actually adding a couple rows here on the upper deck. And so when we're done doing that, the sight lines will be, you'll have a view of the field. This main concourse will then go around the entire stadium, and virtually anywhere you're standing, you'll have a view of the field, which is unlike the situation today. So if you're on the northeast looking towards the southwest, this is what you're going to see. And just notice, if you recall, you remember the upper bowl used to wrap around. That's all gone now. So the only upper bowl section is this very abbreviated from end zone to end zone. And if you're looking, so here's a good shot of a rendering of the concourse. So much better wayfinding, higher ceiling now, view of the field as compared to that old dungeon shot. North end zone, so what we don't have today, but we're going to have by the end of phase 3 is a giant scoreboard on the north end zone. This is the student-athlete facility. Really not a, whoa, slow down. Not a good shot of the student-athlete facility, but it is behind the north end zone. There's a couple other renderings that will show that a little better. So another thing that we've done as part of this project is improved access. So there's additional elevators and stairs and ADA seating and companion seating. So all these red areas, this is new ADA seating and companion. New elevator here, stairs going up, stairs to the main concourse, elevator over here, stairs. So much easier to access the stadium from a pedestrian and from an ADA perspective. So here on the southwest corner, if you look, it kind of blends in with the rendering, but this is a new grand staircase that's going to wind around. It used to be ramps that you would use to get in there, and, as well as elevators. On the southeast side, once again, you got stairs that go right into the main concourse. You've got elevators that go up, so much easier to access the stadium. So just real quickly, one of the biggest gripes, like I talked about, was the restroom availability in the concession. So here's a quick snapshot of the increased gender neutral and ADA, basically 4 times the gender neutral and double the amount of ADA when it's all said and done. So big increase there. The much more open now, so this is a shot of the main concourse where you can go around the outside as well, 360 degrees. Increased concessions as well. And looking at it from this perspective, you can see how much more abbreviated that upper deck section is, and much more open, allowing air currents. It's always hot there. We didn't change the fact that it's going to get 120 degrees. That didn't change. But I mean, it was stifling, between these 2 buttes and the way it was configured. So the idea is now that it's more open, that you'll get better airflow. It'll seem cooler. And it's a dry heat. Just keep telling yourself that. It's a dry heat. That's what I told my wife when we moved from Coronado. It's a dry heat. She said, yeah, so my oven is a dry heat. But, this is a good shot of the club level here, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, but this is a whole new section. So on that note, this is the main concourse, and you can see, there's views of the field. This is the new club level on the south side. This is still the west sideline. These are these 4 mini suites as part of the Legends Club. And then there's 10 suites here, the Founders Club. And then on the far side there is the Coaches Club. And I've got a rendering of that. But much more, better view angles, much more open, and additional club space that can be used for not only football games, but other events as well. Here is the Coaches Club. So this is on the north side of the west sideline. Massive club, which will be shelled out as part of Phase 2. So folks will have access to the seats for football after Phase 2, but the club space itself will be shelled out. So they'll still be able to come in and see the game from the seats. So there's a good shot of the SAF on the foreground here, and the new scoreboard on the north side. So a sun deck here, and there's access into the stadium here. And I've got some more stats, but this is a state-of-the-art student-athlete facility with player development areas, et cetera. All the back-of-house kitchen goes on in the SAF as well. So club spaces that we're going to have, this is the Coaches Club here. Pretty good, I don't know what the square footage is, but large club. Then you've got these 10 suites here as part of the Founders Club, and then you've got these 4 mini suites here. And these are certainly, the intent is going to be, these are available for not only football, of course, but other, Stadium 365 type events. So there's the Coaches Club. This is the side that you hang out on if you don't want to watch football, I guess, because there's the field over there. But certainly wraps around, place to hang out. This is the main concourse down below it. I'm not sure what she's looking at, but something fascinating. So some renderings of the interior of the Coaches Club. It'll be a very nice space. Some other renderings of the suites in the Founders Club. Mini suites. And then on the east side, one of our value engineering initiatives was we basically at one point were going to enclose the club space on the east side, but we decided as a value engineering initiative we're going to leave the east side club space open. So we can always come back afterwards and enclose it, but scope creep is a big deal. It's for real, and so we got to do everything we can to value engineering ourselves out of the hole. So SAF, Student-Athlete Facility, 84,000 square feet of player development area. I mean, I've got some renderings. Gorgeous space. This is all the back-of-house, kitchen, weight room, hydrotherapy, auditorium rooms for big auditorium for, I guess, the entire team, and then there's positional auditoriums for like the wide receivers, and nothing's too good for football. Any college football players here? Okay, I can really, nothing's too good for football. Let me just say that. So there's auditoriums for the wide receivers and the offensive line, etc. Recruiting rooms, training table. So here's a few of the renderings. So here's like the main auditorium area for the entire team, and then if you're there's several of these for the wide receivers or the running backs or whatnot. Hydrotherapy room. This is a little agility field on the north side. I'm not exactly sure how they use that. It's just a mini field, but a full weight room. So the Tillman Tunnel is probably a significant feature worth mentioning. Today, the players enter the field through the Tillman Tunnel on the south end zone. When all is said and done and the locker rooms and whatnot are on the north end zone, Tillman Tunnel will shift to the north end zone, and the players will enter the field through the north end zone, so you can see them entering the field there. And so this is what it's going to look like when it's all said and done. This is the completion of Phase 3. We call this the money shot. Look how big Sparky is down there. It looks like he's really put on some weight. All right, so I've got 2 quick videos, and then I'm going to turn it over to my partner in crime, Doug Marsh, who's going to tell you about the project going on at Notre Dame. So here's a time-lapse video of the north end zone. And this is all Phase 2. we've got a camera mounted on the east side that runs basically real-time 24/7. So we took the pictures from that. Not a whole lot left there, just down to the bones. And now they're starting to come back. You can see the retaining walls for the east side line. So this is on the north of campus, just south of Tempe Town Lake. Are you familiar with the campus? So it's immediately west of Wells Fargo Arena, just south of Tempe Town Lake, in what we consider our athletic district. So it's starting to get bigger, so that's good. That's a good sign. And then just real quickly, another time lapse. This is the west side. Actually didn't start right when we demoed the west side, but pretty close. And so we actually monitor the schedule pretty close. And because we've done phase one, we know where we were, relatively speaking, with phase one, which ended successfully. And so, it's very tough to go out there and look at this and say, you're sure we're going to play football in August, right, or September? And they assure me, and we go over the schedule of these major milestone events. And so we're on track, but there's obviously zero wiggle room when you're working 140 hours a week. And I'll go over, if we have time, some of the lessons learned that we've done to shave time and to compress the schedule. There are a few things, just necessity is the mother of invention that we've come up with. But I don't want to take up too much of Doug's time. So I'd like to introduce Doug Marsh. He is the Chief Facilities Officer at Notre Dame, and he's going to tell you about their stadium project.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks.
Well, good afternoon. Show of hands. Been to Notre Dame Stadium. All right, go Irish. We'll get the image up here momentarily, but not only am I responsible for facilities, design, and operations on campus, I'm the university architect, and by necessity, I'm also the day-to-day project manager for this particular project. That's out of necessity because my project teams are swamped with unprecedented growth for campus at the moment. So, of course, we had to slide this project in the midst of it all. But this is about Notre Dame Stadium, another venerable, iconic facility in college football. This is the day this is what it looked like the day it was opened in 1930. And as much as anything, the story I have to share with you continues the legacy and the vision that this man, Newt Rockne, brought to Notre Dame. Newt was first a student. He was a player on some of the very first teams at Notre Dame. Actually, he got an advanced degree at Notre Dame in chemistry, and he was a professor of chemistry. Part-time assistant coach, and then became head coach in 1918. And he tragically was killed in a plane crash in 1931. In those 12 seasons he coached, he won 5 national championships. But his best gift to Notre Dame was not those trophies or the legends that of those teams that really put Notre Dame on the map, but the vision that he had for what football could do to the greater university. Let's face it, in that part, almost 100 years ago, Notre Dame was a podunk little Catholic boys' school, barely more than a high school. And he saw the value of taking Notre Dame on the road and playing the USCs, playing Army and Navy, had great teams, played them in Yankee Stadium. But no one would come to Notre Dame and play us because we had basically a Cracker Jack box, tiny wood structure stadium that sat about 5,000 people. So we had to play virtually everybody on the road. And for many years as coach, begged and begged. He wanted a stadium just like Fielding Yost had at Michigan, who in, I think, 1928 opened up Michigan Stadium. And in the end, he prevailed. And unfortunately, because of his timely death, only coached in Notre Dame Stadium one season, the 1930 season. But that's it. Just after construction, you can see its adjacency to the campus. It was actually separated by a county road at the time, thought to be way off campus. This was opening day. If they only knew what they had with respect to potential for tailgating, before its time. You can see it was really off campus. But people came, and the Notre Dame football tradition it's a pilgrimage. It's about the weekend. We don't have a homecoming game. Every game is a homecoming game. And so much of the campus has grown around it, and the stadium has been now embedded really into the fabric of the university. You can still see the original Rockne Stadium. 20 years ago, we put 20,000 more seats around the rim, basically just a donut over the donut, in order to allow more alumni to come back for those pilgrimage experiences. We actually sell very few full season tickets. Most of the stadium switches over, turns over every game. And so you have people being able to come in and have access to at least one game a year. This is a shot before construction of this monumental undertaking that we're in the midst of. And you can see that there was a fairly modest press box, and it housed only the press, game day operations, and a small area, about 300 capacity for university leadership and development officers to have advisory councils and trustees. It was just an open indoor club, no premium seats at all. Every seat out here, except for a few rows in these tiered seats here, are redwood, California clear heart redwood. No video board, just a very modest little scoreboard here. You don't want to do a lot of change when you have a tradition as rich as Notre Dame Stadium brings to people. And so even the covering of this 20 years ago was met with quite a bit of pushback, but the fact is, provide more access, it was accepted. It was quite a conversation we had with our constituents to actually bring field turf into the stadium for the first time just a couple of years ago. And the whole idea of a video board, oh my God, you're going to ruin the experience if you do that. What this slide also suggests is an opportunity as campus planners when we had needs for other facilities, and yet the stadium really taking vital square footage of campus. It's off the quad here with the Word of Life mural, also known as Touchdown Jesus. The main south quad here, the Golden Dome and the main quad where the university first happened, is within literally 2 or 3 minutes of the heart of campus. Yet we had all these needs for additional facilities and underutilized space surrounding Notre Dame Stadium, a place that was only used 6 days a year. We take a 7th game on the road every year and to major cities, and commencement. So I will let the president of the university, Father John Jenkins, tell you a little bit more about the intent of Campus Crossroads.
At Notre Dame, we never let convention limit our dreams. We know that buildings lay a foundation for achievement. We have an audacious goal to bring academics, athletics, and student life together, to awaken a sleeping giant, to maximize its potential beyond 6 Saturdays a year, to infuse it with life and learning every day, building an unsurpassed on-campus student experience. Competition is alive in scholarship and the pursuit of truth. It is marked by trial and triumph. These aspects of university life will find new meaning here, in keeping with the spirit of Notre Dame.
The magic of Notre Dame is to see possibilities where none existed before, to see connections where people only saw fragmentation. This is the most audacious building project the University of Notre Dame has ever undertaken. We simply refuse to dream small.
We dare to be uncommon. We dream boldly because we are Notre Dame.
This is a shot taken out of an airplane a friend gave me just last week as the plane was approaching South Bend. And I liked it because it gave you a feel for the in-progress construction and how cheek by jowl the stadium sits with respect to the rest of campus. Here's another view, just directly overhead. And you can see that we're at about the halfway point. In fact, I have one of those counters on my phone to keep track of all these key dates and projects. I looked this morning, we're exactly today, ironically, midpoint of construction. We started at the end of the 2015 season, and we're precisely 1 year and 135 days from that date and to the date that we need to finish our stadium for the 2017 season. But unlike Bruce's project, we're able to play through the season, through the construction, because we're actually not touching the bowl itself. We are doing some renewal work. We're renovating restrooms, and we'll actually replace the seats with a Hussey product in the 2 off seasons this summer and next. But the projects themselves, the 3 buildings that comprise the $400 million Crossroads, actually don't physically touch the existing stadium. We come within 8 inches and have a massive cantilever for the top 3 floors of these structures. Here's a view taken from the library onto the building sites. This is the East Building, Corbett Family Hall. This is the Duncan Student Center. And then this is our music building that's just coming out of the ground and just topped out in the last few days. The Duncan Student Center is 400,000 square feet. That's the sideline structure. It's about 450 feet long, and 2 stories of student center, basically a new student union, a rec center, 2 levels of that, a career services center, so all the firms will come and, of course, recruit our kids. And then we have a 10,000 square foot ballroom, and then that supports premium seating. We won't have any suites for sale. What we have are open club seats and loge seats. So it's all outdoor seating experience. It's just as hot as it gets in Tempe in the summer. It gets a little chilly in South Bend. So obviously we have concourses and such. People can come back behind the glass and view the game, but all open seating. And then a game day operation. It's 137 feet tall, making it fairly tall on the South Bend Prairie skyline. The East Building is almost 300,000 square feet of occupied space. We have a digital media center for both the academy as well as athletics. The Department of Anthropology will take the 2nd floor. The Department of Psychology, spread over 7 different buildings on campus, will actually come together, and they'll occupy 3 floors of the structure below the rim. And then the same kind of thing with premium seating, and instead of a ballroom, we'll have innovative classroom that then gets converted to concourse space, and it's where the food and beverage experience will be for game day. This is the South Building, yet to be named, looking for that benefactor as we speak. 110,000 square feet. Our programs in music and sacred music will move into this building. We have a 175 seat capacity recital hall, some rehearsal space, the music library, all the music faculty move into here, all the practice rooms. And then on the upper concourse level, we'll actually create a club that doesn't have view of the field, similar to maybe Berkman's Place, if you're familiar with that at Augusta National. So it's kind of behind the scenes with a high-end experience. And then it's also the backdrop for the video board that invariably comes with these kinds of projects. This is a fast-paced project. I got called to the first meeting where we began to brainstorm this project about 3 years ago, and we're halfway through construction. So we went pretty quickly so far. We selected Barton Mallow. They're out of the Bloomfield and Detroit area of Michigan. They're partners with us on previous projects, including an ice arena that we finished a couple of years ago. And Barton Malow also led the renovation of Michigan Stadium, and so and the Rose Bowl as well. So particularly the team that's leading this project for them, very conversant on stadia, and particularly how to have a game, how to have commencement in the midst of these construction activities. The lead architect is not a sports architect. It's the SLAM Collaborative out of Glastonbury, Connecticut. SLAM's designed about 8 academic buildings for us previously, did a great job. And since 75% of the square footage is non-athletic related, we put them in charge. Then we brought in HOK, their sports architect group. It started out to be 360, now HOK, to help us on the athletics side of things, the premium seating. And the technology, of course, can't be understated, WJHW doing that for us. The overall timeline, just very briefly, I should probably stretch the design development bar out further because similar to Bruce's experience, we continue to design. We're still working on some of the hospitality areas and some of the particularly details on the South Club and the music areas, and we're adding scope, particularly these improvements that go to the every fan experience, cleaning up concourses, the wayfinding, so a lot of things very similar to the aspirations that Arizona State has for their project. And I keep reminding folks we only have so much time left, and continue to sort of manage those expectations. I thought I'd end with a shot from the 9th level, the framing just being put in place, and even though it's the east side view looking into the setting sun, as we kick off typically around 3:30 Eastern time for our games, the view of back to campus are spectacular. And so we're really excited about the opportunity this gives us. We actually won't add square foot or add seats to the stadium. This premium seating provides about 3,000 additional seats. However, we're going to reseat the stadium as we replace the redwood. The lower bowl as originally planned at 16-inch centers. It's a little tight for the modern butt of fans, and so we're getting everybody 2 more inches to match the upper bowl that was built 20 years ago, and so basically offset that 3,000 square or number of fans. So we'll end up still around 80,000 seats at the completion of the project. So I think with time left, Bruce and I are happy to take questions. We're actually just right at lunch, so happy to take questions, or you can catch up with us. I'll go first. It is design build because we wanted speed, and we had that trusted partner with Barton Malow. It is an open contract, meaning that it's cost plus. The GMP world, when you talk in the 400 to 500 millions, changes the dynamics of the team and risk management and how much contingency they wanted. I'll take the risk. I'd rather have the contingency there. Your other question, financing. We funded $200 million from basically the ticket rights fees for the new seats, and then another $200 from the benefaction, naming the buildings and naming spaces.
So our project is a CMAR project. It's actually 3 GMPs, separate GMPs, and the way it got split up, 256 is 200 system revenue bonds that we're selling, 56 on the backs of athletics to raise fundraising and donors. Yeah, that was before my time, but I don't know if that was discussed. I suspect that they probably said, for those of you that aren't familiar, that's out in Glendale, and that's a serious hike. I mean, that's probably, 45 minutes with no traffic, and realistically, hour and a half with traffic. So we said that's too easy. We're gonna do it right here. 7 days in a week.
Well, great. We look forward to catching up with you if you have any questions throughout the rest of the time together.